Hello, puppies and kittens. Welcome to another Quran lesson for the infidel. Now, I have the usual team assembled, and good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
All right.
Yes,
And
good afternoon in my time. Hi.
all right then. And yeah, I forget that some of us are widely dispersed across the planet. All right, Bogey. So you have some notes to begin.
I do have some notes to begin now.
All right, let's
Today's
commence.
show is brought to you by the letters ALMR, at least in part. We have mysterious letters in this show again. Surah number 13 is one of the subjects of this show today, and it's called the Thunder. Does start with them strange letters we have encountered before and whom no one has an understanding of. 55, Ar-Rahman, is one of the 99 names of titles of Allah. So it's just called Allah with another name. In terms of abrogations, today we only have one, 1340. And given a quick reading, will be abrogated by 9.5. But we shall come to it when we get there. So let's start with the first in the chronological order for today is Surah number 13, the Thunder. Okay, my first note is going to be 1302. Raise the heavens with no columns you can see. That is, there are columns, but you can't see them. Am I reading this right? Also,
there's two interpretations to this. Obviously,
so.
as Muslim apologist says, it's either we cannot see the column, or it's raised with columns that it's not being seen to us, or the sky is not seen as being raised. So both of them in the Arabic language can be justified.
Okay, that sky thing is new. So, but we can't. What do you mean we can't see the sky? Because obviously that would be obviously not the case.
Well, you could see the heaven sky. There's seven sky, but the other one you cannot see. Between them, there's 500 years of a distance.
No, the Taronaha here is only referencing Imadun.
Oh, because it says heavens.
Well, Rafa'a samawati.
Yeah, that's plural.
Right. بغير عمد.
Amadin, yeah.
Right. So there are no columns, and then he adds Taronaha. So the columns are there, but you can't see them.
Yeah, sorry, I beg your pardon. Transportation, you cannot see yourselves. بغير عمد ترونها. That's you cannot see, or the amad, the pillars, I beg your pardon, the pillar cannot be seen. That's what I meant.
We can't see it, but the skies we can see.
Yes, sure.
Right?
Yeah.
But we can't see the pillars. So there are pillars, but we can't see them.
Correct. I agree.
You see what I'm getting? I'm getting to this because, sure, we can't see the pillars, but that means there are pillars, right? Right? But we can't see them. Like, in case I'm just flying around in the sky and then suddenly hit a pillar that I didn't see, I would just immediately spring to my mind, oh, that's one of the pillars and I didn't see it. See, the Quran was right.
Well, he doesn't tell us what the pillars' substance are.
No.
But he certainly says, it's like the angel. You do not see the angels. They are created from light. So these pillars could be from dark matter or anything else that you are incapable of seeing.
I think by this point,
that could be understood in the imaginary mind. Yeah.
I think by this point in history, much of Christianity had already let go of the notion of a firmament over a flat disc-shaped earth, but the Quran talks in those terms exclusively, consistently.
Well,
yeah, and we'll come to another part.
The Quran is truer than Christianity, so the Quran is right.
Oh, well, don't talk over each other.
We'll come to another part where it talks about the next verse talks about how flat the earth is.
Indeed.
Can I just go back to verse 1? There's a
Yes.
note there. When he says, but most people, obviously, Alif, Lam, Mim, Ra, these are the signs of the book. What is revealed to you from your Lord is the truth. He's confirming. But most people do not believe. I'm just wondering why. But most people do not believe. Allah is making statement. Okay, if we go along with such a statement, just wondering what would be the answer. Why most people do not believe?
Because it's unbelievable.
Okay.
I'm
Well,
guessing it
I
is.
mean, that was my comment as well. I mean, that God is constantly complaining. Look, I send down these questionable weirdos with their outrageous and unsupported claims, and nobody believes them. I don't understand why.
Well, why don't you tell something a little bit more adherent to reality?
Or why not? Hey, maybe don't send the questionable weirdo. Why not just show up yourself?
Yeah, that's the shortcut.
That would have been a thing, though.
Yeah, and instead of, could you have angels, right, who are talking to Muhammad? And I'm guessing these are like shoulder angels. These are like quiet, invisible angels, which is why you can have 1,000 of them on the battlefield and they don't impact the battle at all. But why not have an actual full-size, grown-up version of an angel with wings and everything show up and talk to a whole bunch of people at once? You know,
Yep.
that
He
would be
doesn't want to do
more
that.
convincing.
Otherwise, it won't be something he need to test your ability to believe in him without seeing him. I mean, if he shows up and you believed in him, so there's no puzzle there. There's no such a thing as test. You know, so
Yes.
that's the idea behind it. That's why God is invisible. What the Muslim apologist says. What's the
Gotcha.
point if everything's so clear to you? I mean, there's no such a thing as what they call it competition for him to see which one of you has used his brain to get to him without seeing him.
But that doesn't make sense again, because then
Oh
why
yeah,
did
well,
Khidr kill that kid? He saved the
oh
kid from
Khidr, we'll
hellfire,
come back.
right?
We'll come back to Khidr. He knows
Right.
better.
I mean, that story contradicts that notion of God. The test thingy. Because if the kid had a fair test, he would go to hell. But Khidr killed the kid, and now he's going to heaven because he died without sinning. So it's like,
Oh, yeah, well, I think we'll get to that. Khidr is it's an interesting story because
yeah.
Allah knows better, and He knows that this particular child is going to be a hell troublesome to his parents. So God saved them such a trouble.
Ouch.
Yeah, that's big. That's the wisdom behind the Khidr killing the child, that he knew he's going to be a hell of a trouble to his parents. It's going to make their life hell.
Which prophet does the Khidr correspond to in the Latin?
Moses, he was with him.
Oh, that's Moses. Okay, okay. But which other prophet Khidr was correspondent to the Latin nomenclature?
To my knowledge, it's only the Moses in the Quran.
Oh, you
Okay.
mean which prophet in the Bible?
Yeah, which is Khidr?
I don't know. I don't know if it corresponds with a prophet because most of the prophets in the Bible are Israelite, but Khidr is an outsider. So
I think
Yeah,
this
but
is Muhammad. This is Muhammad idea. I don't think it's
maybe.
been mentioned in the previous religious or scriptures. I doubt
okay.
it.
What did Khidr do otherwise? I think he did some things, didn't he?
Oh yeah. He was the one who sent to Moses. Well, basically the idea. Moses claimed between him and God that I am the most knowledgeable guy on earth, and Allah says, "Well, hold on a second. I'll send someone to see if you are really most knowledgeable guy." And he said, "Go to such a place, take with you so and so, and you'll meet such a guy, which is called Al Khudr." When he met him, he said, "Well, I'll take you to a journey, a short journey." Through that journey, he did three amazing things. One of them, killing a child. And Moses, every time Al Khudr did something, Moses got so surprised and asked, "What the hell you did that for?" I said, "Look, listen, just watch and carry on. Don't ask. But if you ask the third time, I'm going to just leave you alone." And then he says, I did that for that. Well, one of them is killing the child. The second is ruining a wall standing because underneath it there was treasure. And third thing is sinking a ship, which is behind that ship a king taking every ship by force. And then the Moses asked him why, and he says, he gave him justification 1, 2, 3, and then he says, I'm telling you now, your knowledge is so limited. And then Moses repented and he says, yes, God, I do not know everything. There's somebody more knowledgeable than me. That's the story in the Quran.
So somebody had to know they were making that story up when they made that story up.
Absolutely.
Maybe.
It's well-tailored story to the extent that it suits children in the age of maybe 7 to 10, 5 to 10, something like that. I'm sorry to say that. I mean, I used to, when I was 12, they told me that story. I enjoyed everything. And everybody in the Muslims' world, more or less, we told them, Al-Khudr says, oh, God's so wise that he sent somebody to teach us wisdom. And what's behind what God wisdom, sorry, God knows all, so we should wait and see, even if things appear to be so drastic. What's the word? Disastrous. So there's something behind it, well fated, well planned. That's what Al-Khudr story all about.
I've got a couple of questions that we should deal with. One of them is from Bong Donkey. Have some fun with that name. It says, can you describe some of the similarities between Islam and Judaism, if you please?
Yes.
Go ahead.
They are both bunk.
All right. So I do remember that there was some imams and rabbis that agreed recently, a few months ago, that Jews and Muslims worship the same God and that Christians, in effect, do not. The Christians worship a different God.
Ouch.
The one common thing between both of them, they both do not eat pig or bacon. The other thing, circumcision. Well, that's the most common thing between Islam and Judaism. But as far as Judaism, they consider God is only, the Abrahamic God is for them. And they are really the selected nation. Anybody else, to my knowledge, was born from the sperm of the horses, and they're meant to serve the Jews on earth. And only Jews would enter heavens, and you should have a mother as a Jew, not a father as a Jew. Well, I think a Jewish guy could just give us better, more highlighted on this, but that's what, as far as I know.
Okay, that was unexpected. All right, and then the next question is from Zagros Ozkan. Says, does the Quran acknowledge the 6-day creation at all?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Every time it came up, it was in 6 days, and he rested on his chair, his creaky throne, on the 7th. So,
Correct.
yeah, it's right in there. Okay, next note, please. 1303.
All right, it is he who spread out the earth and placed firm mountains and rivers on it. He places the mountains and rivers on the earth after he spreads the earth out. We're clearly talking about a map here. This is a paper map that's laid out onto a round table, and then he puts the mountains down as paperweights, because I know that it was described that the mountains were paperweights in another surah. And he draws the veil of night over the day, and there are truly signs for people who reflect.
Okay, so for the very interesting bits, we're going to go for the second one. وَجَعْلَ فِيهَا رَوَاسِيَ. Rasia, which is mountain, like if you dig it up in the big old dictionary, that's a mountain, right? But also, if you look at the word itself, it's an anchor. It's the same word, right? It anchors things down. So, yes. But look at the first one. It's called وَهُوَ الَّذِي مَدَّ الْأَرْضِ. Madda. Have you ever seen a pizza chef do the pizza dough? And he expands it and then flips it around and then expands it a little more. It's not like done with the pin. only in the beginning, and then you expand it by hand even more and more.
So the Earth is literally space pizza.
It's
spread.
space
Yeah.
pizza, yes. It's space pizza with the cats and the mice and the elk all on top of it as toppings.
I once heard that the expanding of the Earth, it was sort of an indication of how the Earth was inflating, but that was like a bunk theory. I forget what was it called. Like
Yeah.
the Earth was like growing in
Yeah.
Oh no, sorry.
spherical size.
This you're referring to expanding the universe.
No,
وَإِنَّا
he's referring to
لَمُوسِعُونَ. Are you
that-
referring
this-
to that?
no. There was a
It's-
theory at some point where that the Earth is actually getting bigger.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, gaining mass somehow. I forgot what was that theory called.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
guess that was easy to debunk. Okay, so everything has two pairs, like two of each, and he puts the night into the day, and those are supposed to be um, uh, um, uh, miracles, signs for those who think about this. Okay, good.
Yeah, it's funny that he said that have a pair of everything except if you are asexual, like an animal or a plant that is an asexual that does not or produce
Does not know about those at all.
that. No one knows about that, and it talks about different type of plants, and it's like most plants are they have male and female parts on one plant, so it's not a pair because they are the same.
Just one plant, yeah.
Yeah.
And probably he forgot to mention that in the Scandinavian country, the Earth, the night and the day might expand over 4 months. So he would have referred to that.
Does not know
possibly.
about that at all.
No,
Mhm.
overlap the day, and it could be the ayah should have been added, and it could be that for some months, for a few months, but unfortunately that was not mentioned here.
The missed opportunities of proving yourself right are so numerous. 1305 is my next note. Scoffs at those who say after death we turn into dust, and that cannot be brought back. In hell, they will dwell in hell forever for saying that. Unforgivable sin. Not believing in the reconstructive resurrection is an unforgivable sin. Number 2. Right. This is obviously one of the objections that are raised against even the possibility of reconstructive resurrection as it is in the Islamic theology.
Yet,
So-
where does it imply that it is an unforgivable sin?
Because he will go to heaven and he will be there forever.
But where does it say that not believing in this day of judgment is an unforgivable sin?
Not believing is an unforgivable sin.
Okay, just not believing in
It
Islam.
already
Well,
is.
yeah, there are 6 things that you need to believe in as a Muslim, and I think we went through them earlier. It's you have to believe in Allah, and then you have to believe in His messengers. You have to believe in the angels. You have to believe in the books. You have to believe in the day of judgment, the final day, and you have to believe in fate, the fate that God have bestowed upon you, if it's good or bad, neither good or bad. And if I'm not mistaken, those are the 6 ones that you have to believe in. And if you disbelieve in any of those 6 things, that is unforgivable sin. And there's an addition to that. There's another unforgivable sin in Islam. If you believe in all 6 of that, but you believe that there is more gods with Allah or someone else who could intercede between you and God, that's unforgivable because you committed shirk, which is put in idols or put in equivalent to Allah. So there is a handful of unforgivable sins.
Somebody got onto me recently, and I don't know if they were Christian or if they were Muslim, but they were trying to sound inclusive, and they were saying that that the Quran does not say that Christians will go to hell, and that I was wrong for saying that the Quran says that. I've seen implications all through the Quran that implies that.
No, the Quran says two things. There is Christians who are the original Christian do not consider Jesus as the Son of God, and those are okay. They are the same as Muslims who says he is nothing but a prophet. And those who altered the scripture and made of him a god who came to earth, those will go to hell, and they are mushrikeen.
So
That's
if
what
we're
the Quran
talking
says.
about, I think it was the Ebionites, I mean, a group that doesn't even exist anymore, then those people might be allowed into heaven. But absolutely all of the American Trinitarians we have today would all be going to hell because they assign to God a child and simultaneously a partner, and they also worship that God ahead of the Father.
That's very clear.
But
That's very clear in the Quran. Correct.
Yeah,
That's very clear.
that in particular. If you see a Christian today, according to the Quran, they have a seat in hell with their name on it.
And the one thing, I'll play the apologist now, and I will say that as long as they don't know about the truth of Islam, and they did not reject it out out loud, like they say that don't believe in Islam without knowing it, then might be a chance for them to be forgiven somehow in the future. There might be an extra test for them or something. They might be able to be in hell for 1,000,000 years, then they will go to heaven. Something like this. You could make up
They can become Muslims.
Yeah,
So that's the best option.
That's the best option I could come up with.
The other fatwa, they will be offered on the judgment day, the Islam, and if they refuse, then they go to hell. It's like the Prophet mother and father, because when the Prophet asked Allah to have a mercy on his mother, he says, "Well, I'm not giving it to you, but there's no problem for you to visit her tomb or her grave." And that's where it ended. And Muslims apologist says, well, this is a little bit unfair. However, God will recreate them again, bring them to life, offer them Islam. Most likely they'll accept, and He will forgive them. So that's another outway for you. What do they call it? Another scapegoat for you.
Yeah, there's something else to comment on from Ishaq Ibrahim. Says ABD Abd Al-Aziz Ibn Baz. I have no idea. Somebody who speaks Arabic has to say
You
this.
just did it right. It's okay. Yeah, Aziz is one of Allah's 99 names, Al-Aziz. And he's Abdul Aziz. So he's the slave of Al-Aziz, which is one of the names of Allah. And his rest of family name is bin Baz. So that's his family name. He's a chief Mufti in Saudi Arabia. Carry on with
He was, yeah.
Okay.
I think he's dead, but
long time dead. Yeah.
And the comment is that of Saudi Arabia issued fatwa declaring that anyone that rejects the flat Earth model is not a Muslim, and the person shall be punished if he didn't repent. You have to repent and believe the Earth is flat.
Yeah, that's been said actually by Ibn Baz, as Mubarak knows. He is the highest authority in Islam as Mufti. He's the Mufti of Saudi Arabia at one time. I think he died. Am I correct?
Yes, he died.
And he did issue two fatwa. If you do not believe that the sun actually goes round, as well as the earth is flat, but you are considered as infidel, and obviously you will be in hell forever. Yes, he did make that very clear.
Yeah, Ibn Baz was the Mufti of Saudi Arabia at the time when Saudi Arabia was open up to the West, and a lot of people were going and coming through due to the oil. So about the 60s to about the 90s, I think, early 90s when he died. And he was very, very influential in establishing the Salafis in Saudi Arabia and the Salafis movement. So all those extremist outlier that end up going to Afghanistan and Iraq and all those places, they learned from him, and he was one of the biggest guys pushing toward that. He was he had multiple traditional scholars that he learned from, and he ended up being a professor in the University of Medina, which whenever someone tells me that they went to the University of Medina for studying, I was like, yeah, that's not good. The scholarship there is as shitty as it could go, because most of the people that comes out of there are very extremist. So yeah, he was trying to hold on to the old ideas, because before that Saudi Arabia was not open to the new sciences, so a lot of them refused to acknowledge the truth.
Yippers. Okay, so let's see. My next note is on 1311.
Can we actually touch on 7 first?
Yes.
It's just another instance of where the non-believers are asking Muhammad again for a miracle, and he again says no.
Which one is that? Sorry.
7.
Verse 7. Like, basically, time and time again, Muhammad's response to whenever they ask for him for a miracle is either I can't or just no, because either God will not allow him to do it, or because the Quran itself is enough of a miracle. He also says that if he does not show them a miracle, and if he does show them a miracle, and if they still do not believe, that God will then have to kill them. So by not showing them a miracle, he is saving their lives, basically. So multiple times in the Quran, Muhammad says that he can't and won't perform miracles that people can witness. So basically, we can assume that he did not really perform any miracles throughout his life. But yeah.
Well, the justification he gave here is very interesting. He said, you are only a warner, and for every community, there is a guide. So that's it. Forget about miracle. Your job is not to bring miracles, only to warn them. And that's very clear.
But that's what's funny, because if you read the Quran, you'll see that Muhammad really didn't do anything special. But if you read the Hadith, it's full of miracles. Like he was talking to trees or whatever. So that's
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, he talked to the stone and the trees and to his donkey as well.
But yeah, that again shows you just how unreliable the hadiths can be, because it literally looks like someone edited the hadiths later on to make Muhammad's story more magical.
Are those hadiths authenticated? The ones where he talks to the stones and trees?
Some people says yes, some people deny them altogether. Yeah.
No, you can't get much better than that, can you?
Yeah. Well, hadith is what people claim to have heard, or like it's people talk, right? This is a telephone game over 1400 years, if you like. So reliability in terms of don't use it. It's just not going to be okay.
Let's recall an important thing for everybody asking and inquiring about hadith. First point, out of 720,000 hadiths roughly were taken as authenticated around 4%. The second thing is the Quraniyin, which is now came since 1985, was the leader Muhammad Shahrur, and before that Ahmad al-Mansur. They denounce, they say we got nothing to do with any hadith unless it is a moral hadith. Any hadith who's come with a ruling or whatever, we totally disregard. So we should be aware of these 2 points in as far as the Islamic doctrine or religion.
Also, another thing is that when we are taught Muhammad's story in school, they tell us that he did all these miracles and stuff, but they don't mention that it's in hadith. But if you listen to some preachers, they will tell you that this is from the hadith. And I've listened to one preacher who said, these are from the hadith, these are from weak hadith, and it as long as it's nice to listen to, there's no problem with listening to these. Because it just boosts their morale or whatever.
Yeah, see, the weak hadith, the sahih, the weak, the mutawatir, all those, they take if the story is okay and there's no ruling, they will take it and accept. The moment there is a ruling, like a fiqh ruling, there's a judicial ruling there, like do not do this or do that, then those sahih, mutawatir, and da'if will come and be like, no, we don't listen to this, but we listen to that because it's better or it's sahih over the ruling.
And
was,
if there is contradiction with the Quran would be given the preference. They all agreed
Yes.
upon that. Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, they agree on that. But again, like how many times have we just, you know, watched the news explode with news of this and this fatwa based on this and this hadith, and that, oh, you can eat your wife. They eat your wife's incident about so many years ago. That was based on a hadith, right? And the only plausible response was by Al Azhar professors is, oh, that's a weak hadith. That's all. That's all they could do, right?
Did I hear
So,
you right that there was justification for eating your
yeah,
wife?
there somebody dug up a hadith somewhere in Morocco, that says, yeah, it's okay to eat your wife if there's a famine or something.
Never heard of it. That says
Never heard
one
of
of
it
the-
too, but
Never heard of it.
there is the guy. He poses as an imam somewhere. He said, okay, this is my fatwa. You can definitely eat your wife if you want to, right? And then
Never.
it hits the news, and then they ask her replies on that and say, well, yeah, but it's a weak hadith and you shouldn't follow this kind of fatwa because it's
Yeah.
based on a
All
weak
right, so we'll eat your wife, and then if you feel guilty about it afterwards, we can dig a grave and you can throw up in it.
Yeah. Yeah. But there is hint. There is some hadith says you could say the final goodbye when the final send off and make love to her if she's dead. There is a debate about this, and I've heard that.
Yeah, I heard that too.
Oh boy.
Just in case you barfed your wife out into the grave, you can still do the final goodbyes.
The thing about hadiths is there's just so many bullshit ones, and people still die over those bullshit.
Oh yeah, they do.
But they're not aware of the other side of the coin, I'm afraid. They're not fully aware. They've taken it as a shiny side.
Couple more questions, real quick. One, Hoya Boria, I have no idea. Since Aaron has read the Gita and the Bible, which book does he prefer? I'm sorry to say, I would actually have to prefer the Bible on this, even though I always leaned toward Hinduism when I was a kid. But the fact is the Bhagavad Gita was deeply disappointing. It's just Krishna bragging about how great Krishna is. And
The Quran, basically.
yeah, the Bhagavad Gita sounds like an extended speech by Donald Trump. It really does, except that it's Krishna talk about how he is the greatest that there ever was. So yeah, I would have to say that I prefer the Bible on that. And then Trevor Wright says, is Allah willing to intervene in the universe or not? And who were the authors of the Sūras?
The authors of the Sūras is Allah. And if he says he does things by hand every day, like bring the sun up and put it away in the afternoon, then he does interfere in the workings of the universe continuously.
Yep.
He literally cranks the universe around to make it work.
I believe there was something, I can't remember exactly, but if it says if God took a rest, the whole universe would collapse or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a Ayatul Kursi.
Oh yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, because Allah is responsible for everything. Absolutely everything.
Yeah, he can do anything and everything. Okay, next note is 5. Scoffs at those who say that after death we won't be resurrected again.
Didn't we cover this one?
I think we did.
Where we were in 11?
11.
Okay, 11 is the next, actually. Allah doesn't change what befalls a people unless they make the change themselves. Extremely interesting statement from a God that claims to be able to do everything without any restrictions whatsoever.
Yeah, my interpretation of this one is that if a town starts to encounter like suffering and adversity, it must be because they no longer obey or follow Allah. It's a little convoluted, but that.
Yes, there is certainly that element of befallment happening here, but Allah cannot remove the adverse conditions on His own unless the people change their ways. So, as if Allah is limited on removing the befalment from the people unless they change how maybe they start boiling. Maybe they start boiling water and then all the diarrhea stops. Maybe.
Putting the Muslim's hat on, I would say Allah does not help those who do not help themselves. Okay, that's in short.
Right. Although he could, but he doesn't.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like not good.
It's like when they ask him for a miracle and he says, I can do that, but I don't want to.
I
Exactly.
won't do it because
Yeah, that's
you did
pretty much
not
it.
prostrate properly.
And it's a thing about how I could look into it and see that it's a teaching moment. You know, there's a plague coming and thousands of people are dying. Well, you are not pure enough. You have to go and pray more and prostrate more to Allah so He could forgive you and take the plague away from you. And I heard that a lot last year and the year before because of the pandemic that we were going through, coming from Saudi Arabia. That they were like, "Oh, we need to repent. We need to repent. There's a lot of bad things happening. We need to repent. That's why God sent a pandemic on us."
Have you noticed the such a huge contradiction in verse 11? And if Allah wills any hardship for a people, there is no repelling it. There's nothing. There's nothing would repel it. Nothing. No. So what's the point of we change or we do not change? If He really wills something, it's going to happen. So what's the point telling us if we change things, it's going to help us? If we don't, you're not.
I mean, it says here that it won't happen unless we do it ourselves, but then it says elsewhere that we don't do anything unless He wills it.
Correct. And if Allah wills any hardship, that's it. He is the one. The final call is for Him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyways, it is, I think, strange and contradictory to make this statement at this stage of the Quran, given what he already stated before. 12 is the next one.
Miracle time.
Miracle time. Allah does
Yeah.
the lightning, actually. No, He doesn't. That's a scientific error.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the note I have is that the correlation between lightning and rain. I mean, how could they have known that?
No.
And that doesn't
No.
that doesn't convince me a lot. But there's a second one. It says, it mentions how the clouds are heavy, and how could they have known that the clouds are heavy? Because clouds actually weigh several tons. So how could they have known that the clouds are not just fluffy and lightweight? And
Because you don't see fluffy, lightweight cloud in Arabia. Because the moment there's fluffy clouds, that means there's wind, and there's sand flying everywhere. You don't see the fluffy ones. You only see the heavy ones with the rain.
The other thing is, throughout many cultures, the rain clouds are considered heavy with rain.
Correct. It's a metaphor.
So
it's a metaphor.
It's a metaphor, and I have seen it in many other languages.
Absolutely. It's a metaphor.
Even my grandmother would say, "Oh, that's a heavy cloud. That means it's going to rain from that cloud because it's full of water, so it's heavy."
That's what he's referring to. Yeah.
That does not infer extra knowledge at any time.
So you're not surprised that they call it heavy in this surah. In this,
Not
at all.
It was
It's a
just
metaphor.
next to nature for me to see it there. Of course, lightning comes from clouds that are moisture heavy, and they will rain soon, because that's how lightnings are made, with the small water particles, colliding and frictioning against each other and generating, different polar electric charges, and then you get the kaboom, big lightning. No, Allah is not doing this. It's just the wind and the water.
I read somewhere years ago about a textbook in Saudi Arabia that was supposed to say that when combining hydrogen and oxygen with an electric charge, then by Allah, water is made.
No.
You
Don't-
can do a
don't worry,
match.
there-
You can do a match. It will work too.
Yeah, there's another verse, another miracle about water. So maybe that'll impress you guys.
Okay, we will get there. Number 13. Allah is doing Zeus now. Wow. I posted a Wikipedia about lightning throwing gods. Um, you wanna comment on that, Aaron?
You said 13.
13, yeah.
What did I do? I've got. Oh, there it is.
When-
The thunder sounds his praises, as do the angels in awe of him. He sends thunderbolts to strike whoever he will, yet still they dispute about God. He has mighty plans. And my comment there was, no, he doesn't. There are no gods lobbing lightning bolts at anyone. That's just the weather.
Yeah, one of my versions is more specific that Allah decides where to send the lightning bolts. But I mean, taking into account the lightning rod, doesn't that put a very big limitation on Allah? Because it's
No, but according to other cultures, there's a pot of gold where the lightning strikes.
okay. Well, I also want to comment. Isn't this one a little redundant? It says that the lightning praises Allah, but in Surah 17, this was an earlier surah. In verse 44, it says that all of nature praises and glorifies God. So isn't it a little bit redundant?
No, he's emphasizing here because the thunder comes with a heavy sounds, so that is a higher praising than others. Just another emphasizing point, just to show you
Here's
how
a fine
everybody really praise him.
here's a
Everything.
fine point between these two verses. Is there a disconnect between the thunder and the lightning in these two verses? Does Allah not know that the thunder is caused by the lightning?
Well, we have three names to the same thing here. We have the lightning, al-barq. We have the thunder, rad, and then we have the sawaq, which is the light bolt from when it's from the cloud to earth, where thunder goes across
So what
clouds.
does the thunder do?
The thunder is, he said, I will show you the thunder, and you'll think it's a good omen for you, because the lightning is on top. It's gonna rain. That's good for you. But then you hear the thunder, and then you will be scared, and that's when it's the thunder is praising Allah at that time.
So there is no connection between the lightning and the thunder.
Not according to the ayahs, no.
Yeah, not according to this verse, I don't think.
I was just looking at it, it's going like, funny that this lightning and thunder is not connected somewhere in these two verses. Like if he's describing, and it's the same phenomenon, lightning, sparks out, and then that creates the thunder. Without that, there is no thunder. So
He doesn't know that.
it does not seem to know that.
No, I agree.
No.
The thunder is talking too now.
Yes, 15 is my next note. Interesting. What is the value of an involuntary / forced prostration asking for a friend? What are the ethics involved here? Please, somebody enlighten me.
I was also told you should perform a prostration after reading this verse,
Yeah.
maybe before.
Yes.
Yeah, but
It's after.
After.
Tawa'an aw karahan? Are you kidding me? Tawa'an aw karahan? Why? Why?
You know what comes in mind? Imagine you are in an open space and there is no shelter, and it started to you're surrounded with light strikes. And there's thunder and there's a storm. What are you gonna do? You're gonna cower down. You had your head down, and basically you kind of end up in the same position where you prostrate where your Muslim prayer. I think that's exactly what it refers to. I'm not sure,
No,
But I
it's a
think it
conclusion,
is.
sorry.
no,
Go
no,
ahead.
no, no. وَلِلَّهِ يَسْجُدُ مَنْ فِي
Yeah.
السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ
Yes.
طَوْعًا وَكَرَهًا.
Yes. The tawan is when you do it wishingly, when you do it on your own free will.
Right.
Karahan is when he forces you to do it, when something forces you to do it.
So what's
And
the
how
value
is
for forced prostration, though?
it's just to glorify himself, to make himself look, I'm stronger than you. It's like the bully just twisting your arm, be like, hey, if you don't listen to me, if you don't give me your lunch money, I'm gonna twist it some more. I'm gonna hold you like this for a while.
Yeah, just
Just
remember,
bullying.
what is it, General Zod when he says "kneel before me."
Mm-hmm.
The same thing.
Yeah. So Allah is no better than General Zod?
Practically the same guy.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay. New
Looks like it.
Islam. New Islam. Allah changes his name to Zod. Okay, 31. I'm going to hell for that. 31.
For that alone?
Well,
Wait,
all right.
you're jumping
I'm
to
jumping
31?
Yeah. Do you have anything in between?
Wait, yes, the 16, the one right before it. I mean, after
Okay.
it.
Yes.
It was a rhetorical part of the surah, right? Because that's my interpretation, and I just want to know if I'm right. It says that originally I thought he was talking about someone else who was also making creations like Allah,
No.
but that's rhetorical. That doesn't
So
really mean that.
who would be the Lord of the heavens and the earth? Say it's Allah, right? This is a question. This is an asking. This is a like is a pretending to ask a question. He's not
Yeah,
really
yeah,
asking.
like sarcasm, right?
Right,
Or,
like who's gonna create the universe? Huh?
yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Well, this is
Trying to
just
think, it's like, does it sound like begging the question?
well, yeah, but I didn't want to.
Might it be a fallacy?
Could it be?
But
Wow. Okay.
Is there anything else in this book?
I want to note one thing, that the Quran says that someone who cannot see, a blind man, is worse than someone who can see. Again, we saw this theme repeated multiple times in the Quran, where God basically prescribed people with disability as in a worst case, in a natural way, against people with no disability. So the Quran is one of the ablest book you could read, because every time God wanted to say, Allah want to say something bad about someone, they'll say, oh, they cannot hear, they cannot see, they they cannot see, hear, or speak. So I'm just like, that's the merciful God that created everything equally and love you all equally. But when it comes down with disability, maybe you're not that much liked.
Yeah, I don't like the language being used here, specifically against disabled people who are blind or who are deaf or anything else. It's not a good example to make the example like that.
I can't remember what verse it was, but wasn't there a verse that was changed? It had like a list of people, and it did not include blind people, and some blind guy complained to Muhammad, and he added the blind man into that list. I can't remember which one it was exactly.
It might be the jihad, who needs to go
Yes.
to the jihad verse, because that's the one that singles out everyone.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's
that's the one that I could think of. But there's a hadith. Now we will go to hadith, but there's one where there's a blind guy that don't have a guide in Medina. He went to Muhammad. He said, "Well, I can't see the road, and I cannot come to the prayer, so I cannot reach the mosque in time to reach for the prayer." So he was like, "Oh, okay, you could pray at home." And then he thought about it a little bit, and he said, "No, bring him back." And he said, "If you could hear the sound of prayers, the call for prayer, then you could go to the mosque." And it doesn't make sense when you're blind, because the sound doesn't help you that much. You know the general direction, but you don't know if there's a donkey in front of you or a wall. So here's another one. It's like, yeah, no excuse. And it could be the same guy, because that I'm trying to remember what's his name. Because Muhammad had the problem with the blind guys too. I think we did the surah Abasa wa Tawalla,
Oh,
the
yeah.
one when he talks, like he was angry that this blind guy was trying to talk to him while he was talking to someone else.
Yeah, I think he didn't like blind people a lot.
It seems like it. Muhammad had a problem there.
Yeah.
Let's get back to the surah then.
Yeah. Let's go to 31. Anybody has anything before that? Because this is just a lot of humor yammering about examples. 31 it is then.
If there were ever to be a Quran with which mountains could be moved, the earth shattered, or the dead made to speak, it would have been this one. But everything is truly in God's hands. Do the believers not realize that if God had so willed, he could have guided all mankind? As for the disbelievers, because of their misdeeds, disaster will not cease to afflict them or fall close to their homes until God's promises is fulfilled. God never fails to keep his promise.
Yes, so clearly Allah does not want everyone to become Muslim.
What does the word Quran mean? Because it says if there was ever a Quran that could make mountains crumble, it would be this one. What other Qurans are there?
This book we're reading.
Okay, the word Quran is the recitation. So imagine a holy text that's recited in prayers. That's a Quran in Arabic. So the hymns, the songs, the prayers that people recite, that's the Quran, and that's why this book was named the Quran, is because you recite it in prayers. So it's not talking about a specific book, but it's talking about recitations in multiple different religions.
I do take every mention of the Quran to mean this book we're doing now. It might be a narrower interpretation of it, but I think because all the earlier messages to the previous prophets would be part of this book, should have been part of this book, but they never made it because they got changed along the eons. So they got adulterated. They're not part of this book, but they should be. So if you want a more inclusive look at this, it could be all the holy books, including the Torah, including the Bible, including everything else, is a Quran. But for the purposes of this study, it's this book we're looking at.
Okay. Thanks for the
Because
clarification.
none of the other books actually made the canon to enter the Quran, because they were considered adulterated by early Muslims.
To be honest, we don't see any connection here at all. It's.
No.
I think there's something missing here, but they try to batch it up because if there's anything to be recited, and such a thing is so great that can move the mountain, that could do so and so and so, then all of a sudden jumps, Allah is capable. Allah is. We cannot see the connection at all. I don't see the connection here.
Yeah.
It seems like it's a response to a claim. So it seems like like about the mountain movement thing. It reminds me of the Bible when it says if you have the faith of a what they call it, a mustard seed, you would move mountains and stuff like this. So it could be a response to claims like that, claims from other religions.
I don't
So,
know, but what
maybe.
he says, did the believers not give up? But it says yes. Well, he's talking about if there is something, if there is a recitation, if there's a good words that capable of moving the mountain, or stops the whole earth, or talk to the death, but all is to God. So that there's no connection here.
I
And all
think
of a
there's
sudden, you disbeliever, wouldn't you give up? But if God will, He will do so and so and so. I see such a breaking sentence in between. I don't know. It's very difficult to understand. Although we go to the what they call explanation of those colors, and we see many different interpretations for this. However, I don't see any connection here.
Yeah,
I
Islam
think,
also. No, go ahead, Mubarak.
no, you go ahead.
Well, Islam also says that every civilization in the planet has gotten a messenger. And if that were true, the religions across the globe would be converging on something, even if they are adulterated. But that's not the case. They do the opposite. They're very different from one another.
Confucius and Lao Tzu and Krishna all seem to have different ideas.
And
Oh
they
yeah,
should.
and
And they should.
that's the thing. It's the thing is that this Quran, this is just it's just a representation of the time that Muhammad was alive and he voted. It's a collection of what's going on there. So when you want to present yourself as the final and the center of the universe, the final messenger and the center of the universe, you will claim things like that. You will claim everyone have a messenger and I'm your messenger. Because before that, people were like, hey, for hundreds of years we didn't have any prophets here. We're not like the Jews. The Jews have prophets every other decade. We don't have prophets. Why are you coming asking us for prophets?
That is true.
Yeah, so I want to cross-reference this with verses in the Quran that we met prior that speaks about if this Quran was delivered to a mountain, you would see the mountain all cracked up and in pieces. And the other reference where the heavens, and I'm not sure if it was the heavens or the earth or the angels and the jinn, were offered the message and they declined, saying we can't handle this.
The heavens, the earth, and the mountains offered the trust. They declined to accept it.
This
But
trust.
we offered it. But unfortunately, man did accept, and he was ignorant as well as unfair.
Yes. Yeah. So when you see Suyirat bil Jibal, that means the mountains basically moved and turned into fluff just by delivering the Quran onto them. And I think that's a cross-reference. That's good. Okay, next one, 37.
Before we go to 37, we'll go to 32.
Yes.
Where it says that other prophets have been mocked before you, so don't worry about them. God will take care of them.
Ouch.
Except the fact that God does not take care of them, and Muslims go to panic mode, and they start doing shit. We referencing very quickly the blasphemy problems that especially Pakistan is going through right now, where people get mob punishment and lynched in the street because of a rumor. That's one thing. Like a lot of people don't like. If you see it and you follow it a little bit, you'll see the problem there. The moment any rumor happens, people will just go in a panic mode. And we saw the same thing with Charlie Hebdo. We saw the same thing when people just a little bit drawing of Muhammad are like, "Oh God, time to go chop their heads." So
Yeah, I got
the
a.
Quran say, "I'm gonna take care of them. Don't worry about them."
This verse was not very clear to me, so the interpretation I got was like God was giving them time to change their ways, but like He was being patient with them. But since they didn't, that they went to hell or
Oh,
something.
sorry, he didn't give them time. I delayed them till the time. I didn't give them time. I know, but they're not my priority now. They will have their time. It doesn't mean I'm giving them time.
He didn't give them time. It's
Yeah.
just
well,
okay.
that doesn't. Okay, the Arabic doesn't say I فأمليت. That means I leave them for now. There will come a time for. I'll come. There will come a time for that.
Yeah.
So they will be punished, all right, that the children was
In due
making.
course.
Yeah, but I'll get to them when I
We got
get to
another
them.
comment from a name that I dare not pronounce because I know I'll butcher it. But it says 13:3, and created fruits of every kind in pairs. Muslims claim that it's a miracle that Allah knew that fruits have gender and sex.
Oh,
Did
really?
did
What about-
agriculturalists not exist in the 1400s?
I think they knew about a lot of fruit at that time that did not have neither.
But it doesn't make sense because he's talking about the fruit. The fruit itself doesn't have a gender or sex.
The fruit
You
is
might
just
claim,
the fruit.
yeah, you might claim that the plant have gender and sex.
Well, that's what I
But
thought that they had to be saying, was it talk about fruit-bearing plants?
But the fruit itself doesn't have, because it was talking about the fruit. He made the fruits and made them in pairs, which doesn't make sense.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, yeah. Well, that would be a hell of a miracle then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah,
No,
and
no,
he
this is a female date.
yeah. Okay, here's the thing. All dates are female.
There are 72 of them on the tree.
Palm trees is one of those trees that actually have two. You have two types of trees. You have male trees and female trees, and you need the wind to have the insemination. Otherwise, you have to do it personally. And I grew up with my dad have multiple palm trees. So there's a time in the summer where my dad will go actually buy male palm trees. I don't know what they call them exactly, but he will go buy them and goes around and inseminate the trees. So you could say that palm trees is very common in Arabia. So it could be that, because there is a male and female palm trees.
I think they simply did not know. I'm not a farmer. I don't know all the trees and plants and everything out there, but I know that there are trees that don't need artificial insemination and they don't need pairs because they're just male and female on the same tree.
Yeah.
And some of them not even that. They will just splice together like peach and apple and stuff like this. And I'm pretty sure they had peach and apple back in those days too. I could be wrong, but
Well, they had to have the apple. That was the first one, right?
yeah. And
Yeah,
apples
but sorry,
completely
the
are
verse,
completely
the verse
made by
doesn't-
people.
Yeah, the verse doesn't refer to fruit. The ayah is very clear. From everything we have a created pair. So he's taking animals, he's taking insects, he's taking people. He's not referring to fruit at all. There's no such a thing. I don't know where that fruit comes from.
Well, he says, وهو الذي مد الأرض وجعل فيها رواسي وأنهارا ومن كل ثمرات جعل فيها زوجين اثنين. So that's the problem with the Quran, is where because we have no punctuation in the sentence. You don't know where the sentence ends. So it could be, and he have stretched put the mountains, put the rivers, and all the plants or all the fruit, the thamarat, which it's fruits referring to the plant, and then he put pairs, or it could be the plants are pairs or the fruits are pairs, like male and female.
Yeah,
That's-
but none
that's
of that
clarity.
apply. We know very well there's no such a thing as male and female fruit, as far as
Yeah.
I'm concerned. So that's in itself a hell of a
Such clarity.
right.
Yeah, that's clarity.
All right.
That's another thing telling you about the origin of the Quran. It's only a recitated thing. It wasn't a codex or a book until later on in its life.
Yeah, 37, please.
Wait, before 37 in
Yes.
33, I just want to make a quick snide comment. It says, it asks the people that are polytheists that give me their names of those other deities, And it got me thinking, if Allah is responsible for everything, like we covered in a previous ayah, then he is responsible for those other deities, right? For example, the Egyptians, if they believe in Anubis, for example, that must have been Allah lying to them, because I don't think all of
Everybody
them
got a
were.
messenger.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Aren't Egyptians visited by Moses?
Well, he was
They
born
are.
there,
Yeah,
so yeah.
yeah. Still didn't believe him. They chased him, and he had to split the sea to get away.
Anyway,
And importantly, he murdered somebody and had to cover up the body. So he
Wow.
knew this is important because he knew that it was wrong. And the reason that it's important that we know that he knew that it was wrong was because I was always told by the evangelicals that nobody knew that murder was wrong until God said so.
Wow.
But Moses clearly knew that he had done something wrong, and so did Cain. Cain
Yeah.
also knew that what he did was wrong. But even though we don't have a commandment saying that yet,
He's not only knew that it was wrong to kill his brother, his parents, Adam and Eve, knew that it was wrong and they kicked him out of the village.
yep.
Like literally, that leaves nobody in the village not knowing that it's wrong.
Yeah, I'm bewildered at how stupid some of the apologetic arguments are that supposedly nobody knew that murder was wrong. Like Dennis Prager says that murder isn't wrong unless God says it is wrong.
that would make it subjective.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Yeah.
All right, 37 then. Quran is the rule, and it is in Arabic, just in case you missed it. The translations are not holy, only the Arabic version. And I got a winky smile at the end of this one.
Yeah, my Quran doesn't say it's holy.
No, it doesn't. If you look at every other translation, it may say the translation of the Holy Quran. It probably doesn't. But there is another line of text under the Quran title, and that is to say, only touchable by the pure. And that's only on the Arabic version.
Yeah.
لا يمسه إلا المطهرون.
Yeah.
You don't find
It's
it in any other language version.
Yeah, because the other versions are not the Quran.
Right, because
Yeah.
they're
They
just
are translation of the meanings of the Quran.
Right.
Or
وكذلك
actually have
أنزلناه حكما عربيا.
You actually have to wash yourself before you can touch the Arabic Quran, but you don't have to do that for translation.
Yep.
37 again. You see
Now-
a hell of a disconnection here.
Here is a problem that happens later on, right? Do you have to wash the server before you install the Quran website on it?
That's a very good question.
I will ask you after
Asking for a
apology.
system administrator friend of mine.
Yeah. So there was this guy on YouTube who burned a hard drive with 1,000 copies of the Quran on it.
If they were Arabic, it would be an ultimate blasphemy, as it is. It would be extremely big.
It depends, though, right?
that's
Because you are allowed to
that's
burn
a
the
stupid
Quran.
act.
But if he put the Qurans on an unwashed hard drive, it would be even worse.
Right. Did you notice the disconnect? Verse 37 says, "Thus we revealed it, an Arabic code of law. Were you to follow their desires after the knowledge that has come to you, you could have no protector against Allah and no defender." So what's the connection here? Okay, you revealed in Arabic, and then if you follow their design, what's the connection here? It's a hell of a disconnect. Am I correct? My notice.
If you followed your desires, your wishes, your delusions, not what's in the Quran, things. After you receive this knowledge, there is nothing to protect you from the wrath of Allah.
Okay.
Does that
Yeah.
twist it in a more understandable way?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That could be taken as such. It's all clear to you, so do
Yeah.
not follow anything else. Possibly, yeah.
It
be
made
taken
clear
as
to you, and if you follow other things than this, then there's
Yeah.
nothing will protect you from
You've
the
got
wrath
the
of
clear.
Allah.
You've got the clearest way to follow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think I agree with that.
Yeah. I mean, if you translate it into English, you just can't help but, adjust it a little bit to get to the meaning of what this verse.
No. I'm looking at it from the Arabic point of view. I
Yeah,
cannot
yeah,
even see the connection, the Arabic. But
Yeah.
never mind. I agree to that. Probably
It's
that's
clear. It's very
Yeah.
clear. The Quran is clear.
Okay.
Okay, 30. Actually, 40 is the next one.
Wait, in 38,
Yes.
I think this strengthens the idea that all messengers of Allah have been human and not divine or angelical,
It's supposed to be.
thus claiming claiming divinity in a messenger or prophet is unfit in Islam. Like, for example, Jesus. Am I
Yeah.
correct?
Yeah,
Yes.
which he didn't actually, but we can come to that later. Jesus, I don't think Jesus ever openly, personally claimed that he is God. Although I'm aware of the verse in the Bible that says, well, you can only get to me through God or something like that.
Yeah,
It's fuzzy.
My interpretation, and I know that some Trinitarians will try to say that, well, Jesus said, before Abraham, I am, but Jesus is also supposed to be a created being at the beginning of time, which would fit that. And I understand that the interpretation that they're giving, but Jesus always only ever describes God as someone else, somewhere else, who can do things he can't do and knows things he doesn't know. And Jesus says that he will see me coming at the right hand of power, that he sits at the right hand of God, that Jesus always calls God someone else. Jesus talks to God as a separate person and asks, like in John, there's the part where it says, Jesus said, I and the Father are one. But then later in the same chapter, Jesus is asking God, can my disciples be one with you as I am one with you? Which means that Jesus is not the same person as God.
Yeah. So poor Christians, damn it, they don't get a good break from this book. Okay, 40 it is. So Muhammad should deliver the message and Allah will keep account. And this one is abrogated by now in 5. So Muhammad should deliver the message, and if they don't listen to him, he can go and chase their ass off the edge of the earth. And the earth does have an edge.
Yeah. The next verse talks about the edge of the earth.
Yes.
And it says, like, don't you see that we come and we actually like break parts from the edge of the earth? Can't they see it?
Well, the way I was taught, it was a bit different. They told me that this means that the lands controlled by the ones that opposed Islam were diminishing little by little by the hands of the believers, in this case, Muhammad.
That's the standard translation in
Yep.
Sunni Islam. Yeah,
That's what I was told.
But if you take it as it's clear, that clear text doesn't say anything about non-believers' land or even believers' land. They just talk about the edge of the earth being controlled and cut down.
Yeah.
So is that them trying to fit the narrative in this
Yes,
case?
I think they are trying to fit a narrative here. This is just
Yeah.
Qudaha min atraf.
Yeah.
It's Arthur Qudaha min atraf. Art is what the planet Earth is, whatever else you can reference. You are going to undo it, break it off from its edges. So you start nibbling at the pizza from the edge of the thick crust.
Could we go
Good
back
picture.
to 40? Sorry.
40.
41. 41, actually, I was asked this question many times, and I myself puzzled because I couldn't find, apparently, the interpretation of this do differ, and I couldn't find a relation to relate to as such. The verse is clear. Do they not see how we deal with the earth, eroding it at its extremities, which is no such a thing? So I'm not too sure where did he come from, where did he come that from? What exactly Muhammad meant by that? Anybody could throw a light on this?
Could it be a reference to the end days where Allah Yanfusha fluffs up the mountains and breaks the earth up into dust, and he's going to start that from the edges and go inside from there?
As a prediction, yes, I would agree with that. As a prediction, bit by bit, it's been eroded. It's like we are taking part of it,
Right. So
along
he's
the time.
using that future prediction as a reality in
Right.
this verse as alam yaro, as if they have already seen it, that we are going to take the earth from the edges inward and destroy it at the end of the days.
Yeah, well, that's one way to look at it. The other way, probably, I said that Muhammad maybe has seen the tide going in and out, and sometimes sees the earth increase. Well, as far as his vision, or what we call when you look at the desert and see things really far less or far from. He must have had some
A
vision.
mirage.
Mirage, yeah. He must have had some ideas to give him such a verse, because it doesn't, I mean, the earth is not decreasing, obviously, as far as we know. There's a lot of bombardment going into the earth, so it's not really decreasing as such. So I'd just like to know.
My thought, I don't know if anyone have been to a beach where the sand meets the sea. That could be it, because you see big sand dunes basically got cut by the seashores. I remember that from growing up in Saudi Arabia, where basically sand dunes end up just getting cut by the sea edge, and it's when you see the water comes in and comes out, and it kind of takes some of the sand away. Could be.
That
I
is
don't really
that's
know.
my vision of the verse, because I did
Yeah.
struggle. I must admit, I did struggle to find, because it is not something. It's not a phenomena we could acknowledge through science. Definitely not. So I'd like to know about his vision. What did he come up with? That's the only thing I could. Well, not the only thing. One of the things, most realistically, that satisfy my imagination as such. Well, sorry, satisfy the verse.
hmm
Anyway, okay.
Okay. I don't have any more notes on this surah.
One note on 44. The first half says that uh, the one before had makr, which means that they all were deceiving, but the but God have deceived all. Who he so God likes to deceive people, and this is multiple times where you have been through it, that Allah have been deceiving people multiple times, and He's the best deceiver.
So he's doing a Loki.
Yep.
Well, apologist says he returned their deceiving on them. He does not actually deceive, but he exposed their deceiving and returned it on him. He returned it on them. Well, that's what they justify.
Yeah,
Such a deceiving by God.
Yeah.
I noticed another question in the chat. Trimethius Finnegan. How many cosmological realms are mentioned in the Quran?
Oh,
7.
What? You mean the seven heavens? I don't know if the Quran even has the concept of cosmological in it.
Agreed. Not at all. Only 7 heavens, the
It
moon,
talks about
the
seven
sun,
heavens with
and
invisible
stars.
columns.
That's it.
Yeah.
So, no, this is wooden chair type God here.
I think there's the moon, stars, the sun, earth, and 7 heavens. That's all we know.
Yeah, there are no cosmological realms here.
Yeah, and we know the concept of the 7 heavens originate with the Greeks actually talking about the 7 heavenly bodies, and so it's something that Islam did not originate even. It's something that's there before Islam. It's not, again, the Quran and Islam is just a reflection of what the mixed pot that was the Middle East of that time, because we have some effect of Zoroastrian we already talked about. We talked about Judaism, Christianity, Greek philosophy, all those things that we have. A lot of the Arab, maybe a merchant at that time, have heard and listened very of the heretical thoughts of Christian and Jews that lived in the area. So it's nothing. I always say the Quran doesn't come with anything new.
Yep.
Okay, shall we move to 55?
Yes.
Let's
All
see.
right, 55 it is. Surat Al-Rahman. This is one of the names of Allah, and Abdul-Rahman, which is a popular name in the Islamic world, is basically the slave of Ar-Rahman, which is generally Abdullah is a slave of Allah, right? So they name people like that. So it's just his name. Instead of using Allah, he just uses one of the 99 names of Allah.
It might as well be renamed as the Surah of Repetition.
This is the Surah of Repetition, and I'm coming to it. Just give me a chance.
Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah,
This
it's
is one of the
compassionate. You're right. The compassionate, one of his credentials.
yes. So this is one of the most poetic rhyming surahs in the Quran. Please go after me for that. And we can dig into this with the panel because I think we should. This one is rhyming to the point that you can actually sing it and it will sound good. Like as good as Rick rolling, but there you go. These verses are also very short, like the verses from the early Makki surahs. This surah is basically a work of art, for sure. As it goes, it's as different from every other surah that we visited before by emphasizing rhyme and rhythm over context. Okay, my first point is at 55:13.
Sorry, before we move to that, can I just
Yes.
mention something
Yes.
important? When we look at verse 2 and verse 3, as something I mentioned before as a contradiction here,
Yeah.
Allama al-Quran mean he taught the Quran, then he created man, he created the human being. So the question, how could he taught the Quran before he created the human? And what the apologist said, well, as far as we know, he could have taught it to the jinn, because he should have said he created man, then he taught the Quran. But the sequences here has taught the Quran, he created the human being. Okay, علم القرآن خلق الإنسان, and that's a question I did ask, and the only interpretation, he could have taught it somebody else apart from the human, and basically the jinn or the angel or invisible creatures.
Yeah, but they refused to take it.
Yeah, we're talking about taughting them, not giving it to them.
Yeah.
Taught, allama, just taught. All right, just a point I need to raise here.
Yeah. Yeah, the beginning is relatively docile as he goes, and I didn't particularly make notes about it. So he raised the heavens and he established the balance, the scales, right? Don't mess with the scales. Very interesting. 55:13, 16, 18, 21, 23, 25, 28, 30, 32, 34, 36, 38, 40, 42, 45, 47, 49, 51, 53, 55, 57, 59, 61, 63, 65, 67, 69, 71, 73, and 75 and 77 are exactly the same.
Around 27 times repeated. Can't you just believe? Wouldn't you? Why you don't believe? 27 times. You're right.
It's a
It's
lot
like
of
a word.
rhymes.
I just
It's
wanted
like-
to get this one push out of the way, and let's deal with the rest of the content.
It's like
Yeah,
it's almost like
and-
God has a word count he needs to reach.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I have a question. In 13, whoa, that's the first time I noticed it. I'm sure if it's the case, it happens in the others. Is there a special tense in Arabic? Because it's missing from Spanish altogether for both of you. Like something between you and y'all, but just two.
Yeah, I'm
Or
not
am
sure
Okay,
I-
and
if this is
and-
unique to Arabic, but the two tense is actually very rare in other languages.
yeah,
it's not in Spanish, so it's go
yeah,
ahead, Mubarak.
there is the Arabic have three tense. There is for plural and singular, and then we have the double, which is or the two. So it's not just one and many. It's one, two, and many. So
Yeah,
you could
right.
say, yeah,
The clearly
And-
distinct style here, and the fact that it is unlike every other thing I've read in the Quran, implies that this surah was not written by the same author.
Yeah,
Yes.
wasn't it?
you have a
Okay.
different Allah that does rhyme.
I will say that might be one. This surah could be a Christian recitation beforehand, because the name Rahman is used earlier by Christian Arabs before Islam, and that's why a lot of the Arab pagans were like, "Oh, why are you talking about Rahman? We don't know the Rahman. We talk about Elohim or like by the name of God." So they didn't acknowledge the Rahman, which is the name of this surah, because the Christian use it. So it could be a Christian recitation, another hymn or song that we sang there. So they use it.
Yeah, that literally accounts for half the verses in this surah. Um, yeah, you're right. Anyways, next point I was trying to make, I think a lot of the precision is being sacrificed on the altar of lyrical excellence here in this surah. For example, I have a strong feeling that the two sunsets and the two sunrises are merely like that, are merely there to make 55:17 rhyme with the rest of the verses. Because nowhere else in the Quran there are two sunsets and two sunrises, right? That's just not
Mhm.
it. So I think there's a lot of context that's being slaughtered on the altar of lyrical excellence in this particular surah.
That's what happens when
So-
you try to make it rhyme.
Yep,
It's like Allah hired a rapper or something.
yep.
Yeah, it's like the Bible also. There's places in the Bible, parts of the Bible that are lyrical, and then the rest it's prose, clearly not written by the same person. And then even if you wanted to take it as, and because there are some the Bhakti Hindu, the Krishna people, who think that the Bhagavad Gita is just like the Bible and just like the Quran, and that it's absolutely literally accurate, except that it's all in rhyme. Can you imagine somebody that has a conversation that long and all of it rhymes? That's
Yeah,
not
that's
possible.
no.
That-
Yeah, you
that-
have to
that's
take
a-
it with.
Yeah, see, that's the thing about ancient text. If it doesn't rhyme, no one will remember it. We know that about the Iliad and the Homers. If it doesn't rhyme, because they don't write, the majority of people did not write. I think by the time of Jesus in Judaism, there were like 9% of the population were like literate. 9%. and most of those are just priests, like high class and priests. So if you have something like that, we know the population of like in Arabia were literate for a distinct amount because we have a lot of writing, multiple writings in Arabia at that time, like carvings on stones. Someone will just go and be like, so and so was here. But even with all of those, you need to make it rhyme. So the poetry that people will remember are the one that rhymes the best. That's why I think that some the suras that a lot of people will recite, or I bet you if we find any different um, other Qurans are the ones that rhymes a lot. They will be the same. The ones that doesn't rhyme, they will not be the same. And I think the places where the rhyme just breaks, because there's some places where the rhyme just break in the middle. There's a section kind of inserted in the middle. So there's a lot of ways to look at it and to interpret it, but you need to rhyme so people could remember.
There used to be
One-
some
one-
cultures that only spoke in rhyme as well.
One more thing here, this particular surah has been the best morphine injection for those who like to follow their feelings. When it's been recited by one of the best voice in reciter of the Quran, Abdul Basit Abdul Samad, you will see hundreds of thousands of people. They just go to numb. I mean, they really enjoy to the way that they feel the mighty God talking to them. I mean, we should really recite it one time next time and let people think how beautiful when the Quran said, and especially this particular surah. And you see on the YouTube, those who listen to this around 25 million, 30 millions, that they just listen to the surah itself to see the mighty gods talking to them. And 27 times to tell them, can't you just see those many miracles I've seen you for you to believe, and you still don't believe? Yeah, so the way it rhymes, it click really heavy on those who have what we call a very shallow, well, mind as far as religion is concerned.
I I will give you a quick insight to something I inherited from a habit that I inherited from my dad. So when you do something, you'll be singing, or so my dad, he doesn't sing when he's doing, like, he'll be going up the stairs. He doesn't sing. He read the Quran. He recite the Quran, and it's a habit that I kind of inherited. Nowadays, I kind of mix between singing and reading the Quran, but most of the time, if I'm reading the Quran while I'm doing something, it's gonna be the Rahman or certain Najm. I don't know why, but sometimes it comes in my mind.
Yeah. Well, this is a if this was in a book of poems, it would be a good poem. It would be like, yeah, this is a very good poem,
Hmm.
right? Anyways, we go to 19, which is my first point. 19 and
I got to
20.
mention the super chat we have
Yes.
for SGD for $6.98. And that message is time to invoke Dionysus. Burp. Getting an early start on a Sunday.
Yeah. So 19 and 20 is the source of waters not mixing miracle claimed, but they do mix, so no miracle. This is one of the items I think Aaron you faced before in debate.
Yeah, I think it's a dead horse, beating a
Yeah,
dead horse.
yeah. So waters do mix after a while, even if they are very calm. Um, so these two verses are not miracle; they're just wrong.
Have we
The thing
spoken
I
about
was
17, by the way? رب المشرقين ورب المغربين.
Right, right.
The
That. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, Lord of the two sunrises and Lord of the two sunsets, which is obviously there is an interpretation for that. As far as I know, the sun does rise for the one side of the earth because the earth is flat. So that's called the one sunrise. Then it goes on sunrise on the other side of the earth, and that goes the second sunrise. So that's what they mean here.
Ooh.
How's that?
So
But
you
but
are
hold on.
you are cooking the pizza from both sides now.
Right here. So that's where it
Yes.
comes the two sunrises and the two sunsets. Okay.
So
You're
what
laughing.
about places in the Arctic where the sun describes sort of an oval and never sets?
If
It's
No,
you
we're
read
it's
talking
the
about those
Quran, the
people who
Arctic
see the
doesn't
sunrise. We talk
exist.
about Arabia now. We'll
yeah.
Oh,
forget the
If
North
you
Pole.
it's
read the
almost
Talk about
Quran,
Arabia.
the Arctic doesn't exist.
yeah. It's like Allah doesn't travel much, does he?
No, it does not
It,
know anything.
it's funny for me because I remember reading some of the stories about like medieval Islamic scholars where they talk about what's on the other side of Earth because Earth is flat. So there must be, and God doesn't create anything like useless. So there must be someone living on the other side of Earth. So and it's a legit like question. Like if God doesn't create anything for a waste, and Earth is flat. There is some other part. Why there is another part there? That means there are some people living there. So that's
But
why you have two sunrises and sunsets.
here is
I
a
agree with
simple,
Talal.
yeah, here is an empirical problem though for the people who live on the other side of the earth. How do they drink water?
I don't know. I need to ask people from Australia.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
All
Never
right.
mind.
Next one is 24.
His are the moving ships that float high as mountains on the sea.
Yeah. So ships stick out of the water like mountains. Sure thing. If they didn't, they would be called sunken wrecks.
Yeah, they would.
They have to stick out of the water.
Yeah, I had to wonder about what is it considered the size of a mountain, because I mean, my comment there was that we have much, much bigger ships now, and the ships we have today are not as big as mountains.
Well,
It's
the Ever Given would actually, when fully loaded, would qualify for a small mountain.
I I would say it's a comparison of how they look. So when you come into, you know how you see the ship coming into the pier and like how it rises from top to bottom. So when you go into a mountain range, it's the same thing. Could be it. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, if they didn't stick out of the water, they would be in the water and there won't be ships anymore.
Yeah, and another thing that they look like mountains. It's like the flat land around the mountain, and there is a mountain there that you could see. The sea is flat. There is a ship in the middle. That's another interpretation.
Sorry, which verse we talk about?
24.
24. I beg your pardon. Yes. Okay. Well, right.
Yeah, it's a basic.
That's tricky verse. These are the ships raised above the sea. It doesn't translate really the Arabic one. Yeah, never mind.
It's kind of funny that God's taking credit for ships, though. It's not
Yeah.
something
know.
he
But just you
created.
could see it as clear as a slogan, as clear as a sign sticking out. That's all
Well,
it
he
says.
takes credit for everything.
To bring it down to earth, Muhammad would have seen ships, especially when he traveled south, because there was a busy trade route in the south between Yemen and Ethiopia at the time. So he would have seen ships at sea, uh, if nowhere else.
And they did look outstanding,
They
definitely.
they would look outstanding for
Absolutely,
sure.
and
I
that's
mean,
very
even
clear.
then,
Yeah.
these are ocean-going boats with
Yeah.
sails. So
Yeah.
yeah, they would really stick out of the water. Okay, 55, 26, and 27. Very famous verses. Can find them in a lot of cemeteries carved into headstones. Everything withers, and only the face of Allah remains. These two are probably one of my favorite verses in the Quran. It's really good. It's really sad.
Yeah, 26 is the only truth. everything on earth will die.
Yep. Okay, 20.
Except God and His face.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I said 26, not 27. 27, it's an addition, but 26 is truth.
Is
All
it
right.
worth to go back to one of those miracles that Muslims repeated all the time? بينهما برزخ لا يبغيان 19. I think this is, you could hear it all the way, that how Muhammad knows that the salt water and the fresh water, when they meet, they will have a barrier between them. And how on earth did he know that? And this is one of the scientific miracle they repeat to you all the time. So is
The
it
thing I
worth
was
elaborating
told,
on this?
Yeah,
the thing I was told is that how this discontinuity between fresh and salt water can only be observed with modern equipment. So how could they have known?
Oh, Greek fishermen knew about it. They actually knew which fish liked which kind of water, and they actually sailed there and caught the fish they wanted from the type of water they wanted to catch it from. They absolutely knew about this.
yeah. If someone, not just the smell of the water will change when you go from a river to you go to a salty, because the seas are there's more they're more like what they call them, like metal and residues and stuff in them that change the smell, the saltiness of the sea. You could sense it, but when you go upriver, you don't smell that. So there is a point where that even the smell of the water will change from being like a river, not so salty water, to a salty water.
Yeah, even the Bible is guilty of this. When we look at the flood stories in the Bible, they don't know that certain fish only like certain kind of water and does not thrive in the other one. And when you pour all that water onto the seas, they will become less salty. So a lot of saltwater fish will just die. So Noah should have picked up the fish from the oceans and put them in the boat too. Otherwise, they would die because of all the dilation. So they
Well,
did.
not really,
And
because
this
everything
is
that
this
came
is
out
not a
of the ark died anyways, and
well,
Yeah.
yeah, but they didn't know, and neither does Allah, that different salinity levels in the water change, the water mixes, and they do affect the wildlife in the waters.
I've got a
So
super chat to read. G Skeptic for £5 says, my aunt puts on the Quran whilst she's cleaning, as it was music, and when I get annoyed, she says, because you have a jinn that hates the Quran.
yes, that's
I
not
feel you.
that's not an unpopular explanation.
Okay.
there's places where you can pay to get depossessed, like seriously.
Yes, it's actually a
You
cottage
go to a
business.
store, and or sort of store, and they depossess you. They excise the jinn off of you.
Yeah, I saw a YouTube
Yeah,
video
and
about this a few years back.
yeah, and if you don't pay the sheikh for for the exorcism, you get repossessed.
Well, of course you do. That's the insurance.
It's going to give the
One-
jinn the new passwords.
Yeah, one shouldn't be amazed by seeing most of non-speaking Arabic people. They did hear the Quran just for the sake of hearing it, though they almost understand nothing of it. But you've seen them everywhere, in the car, from the place, in the shop, wherever. You could see that, especially the Asian community. And I've seen them all the way. And that's, at least we can hear God's word. And you see that often, among Muslim people.
Yeah. What's the percentage of Muslims that actually speak Arabic?
20%, 32%.
Oh,
A minority.
Yeah. And
yeah.
those who
Not just
speaks
the-
Arabic, but who understand Arabic, who understand, they call the people who knows the derivatives and the Arabic word, they are less than 5%. And those who are called the top of the rank, they are less than 1%. Believe it or not.
And we're going to hit another miracle in the Quran, 55:33.
Yes.
Widely used to claim that the Quran predicted space travel, by the way. and that it would be difficult. We can read it, look at it.
I got an unpopular, or I don't know how popular it is, the claim about cold, no, not cold fusion, cold. What is it called in English when you join metals together?
Fusion.
I forgot the word.
Is it fusion? What you're talking?
Welding. Cold
well.
welding.
Yeah.
So
Cold
it
welding
predicts cold welding. Well,
this one?
yeah.
I don't think
Right?
it does. No.
33?
No.
35.
Oh,
35.
Because of the
35.
molten copper.
Wait.
No.
Talking
That's
about
a different
33
one.
now.
No. That's a different one. That is 35.
Oh, sorry. My bad.
Yes.
I jumped.
We're getting to that. Copper is not copper.
Okay, so I'm missing something. This was supposed to imply space travel?
Yes,
Yes.
because the jinn and the ins, which is the humans, if you could travel through the realms of heavens and the earth. And if you could, then you should, but you won't make it unless you have certain authority and power. So it's going to be hard.
Okay, so this is a modern interpretation wherein they don't realize that the Quran is still talking about a firmament.
Yes.
You need clearance to leave the firmament.
Can I make one correction here, please?
Yes.
The percentage max are 25% of Muslims who speaks Arabic, not understand fully Arabic. 25% max. Okay.
Yeah. So, there are a lot of Muslims who don't
25.
understand the Arabic language at all. They might even be able to recite the Quran in what sounds like Arabic. They vocalize it, but they only understand the translation of it. So that was 33. Watch out for this one. It might come at you from an apologist saying, "Oh, you see, the Quran predicted Elon Musk landing the rocket back in Earth." Sure, it did.
I see it as a stretch. To be honest.
Well, they don't bring it up too many times these days.
Okay.
Yeah, see, that's the thing is if we take 34 in between from 33 and 35, and you connect 33 and 35, that if you try to go with no authority, travel through space, go to the second heaven,
Then they get stars lobbed at them.
Yeah, you'll get a shiwadim and nar, that like you will get a flaming malted copper thrown at you. That's like, it's not just, it doesn't just talk about the star. Now we're talking about a specific thing, that little missile of fire and copper thrown at you.
This is a countermeasure if you go into heaven with unauthorized access.
Yes.
Without the proper rockets, and good shields up.
When see, this is being defined as you are early 70s, we managed to go, what was it, 769, landed on the moon, and we did escape the gravitational surrounding, and they said, oh yes, this means authorization is the science, unless you have really a science who authorize you to know what you're doing.
Yeah,
So
FAA permit. The Quran predicted the FAA. There you go.
So do you think this is do you see this one as another miracle, the 35, with the
they certainly use
molten copper?
Oh, not yet. It is a claim that nobody has ever seen. But they said, well, you never know. Maybe at certain time when you explore the universe, go, within the surrounding that we are capable to reach, you might get that anytime. But
Oh,
as far as
no. The apologetic that I'm talking about, it's twisted even further. It doesn't mean that. It's when you go into space, there's a phenomenon called cold welding, where
I've never
metals,
heard of that. I've never heard
yeah,
of that at all.
yeah,
This is new to me. Never
metals
heard of
weld in space.
Metals
It's
do welds, but they don't need to be in space for that to happen.
I don't know. I need to look into it. The cold welding in space.
Here's what happens. You put a bolt into a hole, like screw it in, right? And then the surface of the bolt from the inside and the hole that it's bolted into are very close and are very high pressure against each other so that the bolt holds. On Earth, if you left the bolt in, sometimes if you took your car to the mechanic and it was an old car and you, let's say, wanted to change a spark plug, the mechanic will say, well, I can't remove the spark plug, and it takes him the whole day to do it. That's because the spark plug welds into the engine block and he can't just remove it, right? So this is the cold welding that he's talking about, and this is not even a thing in space. People know about it, bolts get stuck, and they remove them with bigger force. That's all. There is a problem to it.
Yeah,
This
no,
is-
but there is a phenomenon like
Okay, I just read about it. That's the quick answer in Google, and it says there is no cold welding in space because you need the metal to oxidize for it to cold weld. Because what happens is like the oxygen will interact with the metal and connect both sides of the metal, and weld it together. So cold welding technically does not happen if there's no oxygen. And as we know, space is a vacuum and there's no oxygen in it.
Now, the factor could be that the metal expands and contracts more in space
Yeah.
because the temperature differentials, and that can snag things up a little bit. But cold welding? I thought you'd hammer two pieces of metal together and they weld, and then that's
Amazing. I dealt with alloy and welding for many years. Never heard of that before.
Yeah, I don't
You
think
know.
it's a thing.
yeah. If only I knew more about this.
I mean, I would answer the question for you, but I hardly ever go into space anymore.
Maybe Jeff Bezos can tell you something about it.
Well, I'll put a pin on this miracle
Okay.
until I know more about this cold welding.
Just make sure you use a ceramic pin, otherwise it might weld.
Keep it open to offer. Keep it open to offer. The mystery that one day is going to be resolved. Okay.
Yeah.
As everything else in the Quran.
Yeah.
55. Okay, 55 is my next point.
Okay. Which then of your Lord's blessings do you both deny? Is that's the one you're talking about?
55. Just a second, I'll get there. Yeah, this is 55. Yeah,
You meant
again.
55?
Wait.
Yeah, I'm just.
You said 45 or
55. All of them.
55.
فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان.
Yeah, I think I just mentioned it here erroneously. The two heavens just wants to bring it to the end with the letters A and N. This is the problem with the rhyming verses, is that the rhyme supersedes the meaning, and I'm going back to two heavens and two mornings and two evenings, which you also said, well, because it's a flat pizza and then there are two mornings and two evenings, so whatever.
Yeah, I'm a little confused at ayah 56. There will be maidens restraining their glances, untouched beforehand by man or by jinn.
And my next note in 56. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's basically describing heaven.
Describing
the gardens of. I mean, because this is what you would find in the gardens. I don't know why it talks about two, and then I got confused again because it says there's a garden under the garden. So
Yes,
what? There's
yes,
4 now.
Now he sacrifices everything just to keep rhyming.
Okay.
We're
Okay?
talking about
56.
59.
56. They are قاصرات الطرف, right? So they are lowering their gaze, and we're not touched. We're not touched.
These are the
By-
wives that are going to be assigned to you
Yes,
when you
those
die.
are
The Houris.
These
I
are
beg
the
your pardon,
Houris.
the Houris.
The sex robots, yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
So
The sex
nobody
robots.
touched them. They are virgins, not touched by jinn or ins, humans or jinn.
So
The shortest explanation here, in them are maidens of modest gaze, untouched before by any human or jinn. That's the shortest explanation for
Yeah,
that.
Virgins, basically.
They are very well. Virgins is our addition to the fact that they are untouched.
Right.
Yeah, my comment on that was you don't want a woman who's been touched by a jinn, because that would be a hard act to follow.
Yeah.
I was
a
told
literal demon in the sheets. No.
they're
Okay,
also made out of fire. So
yeah.
but I was told that jinns are attracted to the long hair of the women, so that's why they cover it. Or
Never heard that before.
I will say, when it comes down to talking about jinns, all of it is a hearsay, traditional, nothing really, because what we know about jinns are only talked about in the Quran and few hadiths, and even the hadith doesn't talk a lot about the jinn or the specific what they do in their life and what they like and what they hate. All other things is just like addition. People are just adding stories, because we know that jinns they existed in the mythology, the Arabic mythology before Islam.
Okay.
So just people expanding on that.
A couple of points on 56. It uses the word yatmuthahunna, right? And
Yeah.
he could have used the word yamassahunna, right? So this is beyond the normal touch. This is the other kind of touch.
Oh, yes, it talks about that they have not had their virginity taken away
By the jinn.
by jinn or
jinn.
or men, either
Right.
or.
So according to Allah, the jinn could take the virginity of a huri away. They could, but this product does not have its virginity taken away from it.
Yes. So after you're done with your own huri, then she will not be virgin anymore.
But you will still dream of genie.
Yes,
probably.
She would look at the next day.
Knowing some of the Muslims that I know, I think she will be dreaming a lot of genies.
Okay, a little bit of an interesting racist note. 58. كأنهن الياقوت والمرجان. Okay.
Like rubies and brilliant pearls. How is this?
Well, no, the translation is out to lunch.
Okay, gotcha.
Morjan is coral.
Yes.
I wouldn't want to touch coral.
The coral is white, and the rubies are kind of pinkish reddish. So he's describing the Huri's colors as white and pink. And I don't want to take you with the fantasy as to which parts are white and which parts are pink. He is describing the Houris as white women.
All right.
Okay.
Not a lot of diversity in the Quran, surprisingly.
No,
Yeah.
There's absolutely no diversity at all.
I love 60, the ayah 60.
But by the way, I just want to bring up a comment on Aaron's notes, but it's not related to any of this in particular, but a bunch of them that he mentions in his notes from the Patheos blogspot that How can it be blessing? Because in these rhymes, it describes something good and something bad. And he says, well, how can it be a blessing, the bad thing, like going to hell, for example? And the way I was taught about this is like, it's like these are warning signs. It's not the blessing of going to hell, but the blessing is that you've been warned. Like you see.
Which verse is this?
For example, in verse 45.
45.
There were several of these.
Oh, the repetition, you mean?
Yeah, it describes which of your Lord's favors will you both deny? Yeah. And Aaron's comment is like, okay, well, this in particular is not a favor, like, for example, going to hell or dying or something. But these are like warnings. Like, if you're in a mall and there's signs that say the bathroom is over here or the food's over there, but there's also signs that say wet floor or don't touch, risk of shock. And they are both good for you, right? The good and the bad, because they are warnings. Sort of. I don't know if that irons that out.
Yeah, I was completely lost as to why it was doing this kind of repetition, and it doesn't match anything else in the Quran. So it took me a minute to figure out that this is just a poem.
Yeah. This does sacrifice some meaning just to rhyme, and we need to keep that at the back of our heads when we read this surah. Okay, next one is 72. Interesting. So the 72 virgins.
You're right. Was this on purpose? Because it's 72? Or?
It's a numerical, I just discovered it.
Okay.
But what I'm trying to get to is qasara and qasir are the words described for the mentally incompatible or the underaged. When somebody is qasir, you have to have somebody to take care of them, right? So hurun maqsuratin fil khiyam. How do you understand this in Arabic? Is problematic because if they are underaged and they are in the tents waiting for you, then they are underaged huris that are waiting for you in heaven. Or are they limited to being in the tents and they can't go out?
The interpretation to escape such an accusation is says secluded, as mean really are restricted. Well, they should say in the tent. Here it says in the pavilions, which is they're giving it a better description. I mean, they are really waiting and secluded and assigned for you. That's what they meant.
And not touched by the jinn or other people.
Yeah, that's what they meant by maqsura.
This is 72?
This is 72.
Okay, now I'm confused.
Yeah, because 72 just in my translation just says dark-eyed, sheltered in pavilions, and it's part of a longer statement.
We don't even care about the eye color here. Right. These are your virgins are sitting in tents waiting for you.
Yeah, they decided to translate virgins or huri, which is actually, I don't know, it's more like, it doesn't really translate as virgin. There's nothing for it in English to translate it exactly, but more like I will say a maiden, like a fair lady.
I mean, when it says untouched by human or jinn, that's pretty clearly virgin there.
Yeah. The huri is not, it's not the virgin part about them. So that's how they talks about, like a fair lady, a fair maiden, some I don't know, gentle fairy tale.
My version says that they will be like just for you, so to speak.
Yeah, that's what it meant anyway. Secluded, assigned. Yeah, but however, you could relate hur, virgin. You could relate them. There's no problem there. They're supposed to be virgin. They're supposed to be virgin.
And
They're
the
supposed to be virgin anyways.
Yeah.
Whether you call them whore or something else.
yeah,
And they have not been touched by anybody. They're just waiting
They're
for the
not being
assigned man. Okay.
touched by anything.
Yeah. that it's one of the biggest, like this talking about they are secluded and they are not being touched. You could see how patriotic and how misogynistic is the Quran talking about that. It's caters to the male's jealousy and urgency of that. Oh, I will not touch someone who had been touched before me, no matter who's whatever. Like, I don't want to share my toy with other people. Like, really, who cares? You're in fucking heaven now. Like, chill down. No,
I've got a question I got to read.
Who cares? You're right. Who cares? Yeah.
And G Skeptic asks, what do you mean jinn don't do anything, Mubarak? They eat crap and rubbish according to hadith.
yes, according to hadith, but the details of the, like, oh, the jinns like to look at so and so, they will come in this and this. So there is stuff that they really don't have hadith or so. It's merely hearsay.
Sorry, that applies on earth. It does not apply in heaven. On earth,
Yeah.
they eat crab and bones and dirt, but not, bone mainly, and leftover, but not in heaven. In heaven,
Yeah.
they'll have a different attitude altogether.
All
What
right.
are they going to do in heaven?
I don't know. Someone will provide.
Sit on a couch
Eat fish.
and drink
Oh.
non-alcoholic beverages.
By the way, Abu Ala al-Ma'arri has got the book called The Messenger, or the I'm trying to do the Ghufran, Risat al-Ghufran. I think was mentioned by some other author. And he says they do have a quarter on their own, and their name will be different, and the performance will be different. But the jinn will have a quarter different from the human. He's referring to that in a psychiatric way, right?
Yeah. Abu al-Ma'arri is one of the best anti-nihilism, like nihilistic early philosophers in the Arabic history. I recommend him highly.
74 is the next one. Again, just in case you missed it, these were not touched by either humans or jinn. Can't underemphasize the importance of the very sexual nature of these descriptions. Again, goes back to it because it seems to be very important. And that's my last note for this surah.
All right, so we will be, I hope everybody is cool with this. I think we had agreed that we were going to meet next week at this time.
Yes.
Okay, so I blocked it out. We are nearing the end of this escapade. We will have, after today, we have 7 lessons left to do. And I don't know how long that's going to take them. I'm certainly not going to be doing them all on a weekly basis, but we will be doing next one in just 1 week, where we usually wait 2. Okay, and next, what is the one we're going to be doing? Okay, we're going to cover Surah 76, 65, 98, and 59.
Which are totally going to be extremely fun.
They're tiny.
All right, very good. Looking
Sorry,
forward.
Aaron, can you say the verse, the surahs again? 76?
Yes, 76, 65, 98, and 59, because they're all very short.
And
Thank
these
you.
are not your lottery numbers. Don't play these.
What difference does it make?
Actually, go play them. You might get something.
Then it'll be a
Who knows?
miracle.
But we get the 1/6 of the share.
Yep.
Sure. 1/5, yeah.
1/5 of the share is ours.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so I guess I'm going to close it up. Looks like I've just got an invitation to go do something, so I'm going to have to go do that. And thank you to the team. When this series is over, after the next 7 lessons, I'm going to miss this.
Yeah.
Sure thing, we'll miss it.
Yeah.
We have to
Thanks, Arun. Thanks,
Well, we
everybody.
still have one more surah to go, which is 145.
What?
We still want one extra surah to go, 145.
I don't understand what you mean.
Never
There's
heard it.
this, well, yeah, it's on YouTube. It's called Surah Corona.
Right. Okay.
Okay. And then we got Brian PC gave us 10 pounds and says, bing bong, bing bing bong.
Okay.
I agree.
That's better than the letters at the beginning of the surah. Alif, Lam, Mim, R. There you go.
All right. All right. Thank you very much, everybody. And let me see, do I have two more? Okay, good. All right, Peter, go ahead, take us out.